Welcome to the Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40! I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? You just say, this is whoa.
And now, down and tight.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal Boys and Girls. Ty Hildebrand here. Dan Rubenstein seated to my left.
Yep.
Solidverbal@gmail.com is the email address. 206-338-1784, the Reverb line. We're going to get to those in just a little bit. Also hit us up on the Facebooks and the Twitters. We're all over the place, Daniel. College football's Week 10 now in the books.
Yeah.
Bit of a wild week, if I don't say so myself.
How you doing?
I'm here, aren't I?
You are here. I'm very happy you are here, and in good, fine fettle, wearing Oregon green.
I am.
I like it.
I am. I'm wearing green and neutral gray, so as not to be so biased, because the Solid Verb Bowl,
Right.
I guess, still remains
Still
intact.
on.
The potential for a Notre Dame-Oregon matchup lives in light of what we saw yesterday. We do have a GIF here for those listening in the car. You have to go back and watch it on the YouTube.
Oh,
But
God, look at
this. See Manti Te'o in the top right? That was me.
That's
That's
just
actually
madness.
not Manti Te'o. That's me. I'm huge. I have that weird tattoo on my arm. That was my primal scream after the win.
You have Manti Te'o. It's so fun. We have Alabama kiss the ring. Kiss the ring for
kiss the
Alabama.
ring.
Johnny Manziel doing Cam Newton's Superman.
Unbelievable.
It was a fun day of god dang college football.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because we knew that Alabama and LSU, the two night games, were
Yeah.
going to be interesting in their own right.
Sure.
So that didn't catch anyone by surprise. But certainly the Pitt Notre Dame game, which we'll get to, I know, in a little bit. I saw you tweeting like mad.
People that like Notre Dame hate me.
You love pushing the Notre Dame buttons.
I love Notre Dame. I'm, what
You're
are you,
rooting
blue and
for
gold?
Notre Dame, we should add.
I'm a loyal son of Notre Dame.
Right, of course you are.
I
You're
am.
so loyal.
I am personally rooting for Notre Dame.
Yeah,
Anything I
okay.
write on the Solid Verbal is 1, to be insightful, 2, to be funny, 3, to pass along interesting stories and links, and 4, to sometimes rile up Notre Dame people.
All right. No,
Yeah.
you're very good at that,
Thank
too.
you.
You're very good at it. And it's a very easy fan base to
Right.
rile up. I think maybe seconded only by USC. I'm surprised
They're
by
super
this because
defensive.
very defensive right now.
Which is a funny adjective in light of last night's performance.
Right,
against
very
Oregon.
undefensive.
Undefensive.
In that game, obviously against Oregon. But
Right.
it's funny to me because now UCLA's had some success.
Sure.
UCLA blew out.
Notre Dame?
Blowed out,
Yeah.
excuse me. Arizona, a team that, of course, beat USC a week ago. And the UCLA fans are going, oh, well, hey, we're in first place in the South. And USC fans are like, whoa, what about 2005?
Yeah.
Where were you in 2005?
Yep.
So there's a lot of defensiveness going on right there.
It's been a roller coaster ride for
as
you.
if UCLA is this meteor headed towards USC.
The fun thing about being a USC fan, it's granted roller coaster ride.
Sure.
Between the whole being awesome thing, being sanctioned, hiring Lane Kiffin,
Buying a house thing.
and of course with USC fans, there's the whole like not being a USC fan,
Right,
and then becoming a USC fan, and then not becoming a USC fan, and now again becoming a USC
and
fan.
then texting that you're, yeah.
It's just it's an emotional roller coaster, so I can understand.
All right. Well, let's start off. Let's get the conversation rolling where we get it rolling every week. Let's
Yeah.
get to your Week 10 reverbs. Again, the line was 206-338-1784.
Indeed.
Same number every week, same deal. You know, we compile all these together. Got a lot of drunken phone calls.
People be
mind you.
crazy.
A lot of drunken phone calls that we could not play on the air here today, just
Right.
given the fact that, well, you'll hear where some of these folks went with their messages. But, Leanne, let's play the Week 10 reverbs.
Alabama, you've got Oregon. Two very different visions for the future of our country.
Hey, y'all. It's Chicago.
Glenn calling from Denver.
Hey, it's Mike from the Mean Streets. Aaron from Knoxville, Iowa.
Jason from Chicago.
Kara from New York.
Hey, boys, Jason from Bama calling in.
Well, this is Rich calling from Boulder, Colorado, a fan of the only team who envies Maryland's quarterback situation.
I drove over 1,300 miles to be at LSU Bama, and I was about a minute and 30 seconds away from calling from Death Valley Field. And I would do it all over again just to say I was at that game.
Do you know when your fiance is referring to the head coach of Alabama as Dick Satan, that you're doing something right? Did anyone see the Alabama player do the NWO suck it about 4 times?
Seeing J.C. Copeland's unnecessary roughness penalty, it made me want to get up, punch the TV, and scream Roll Tide, even though I was rooting for LSU.
I really do hope that Alabama is the gift that we are giving them, which is
Aaron Murray and an injured Jarvis Jones, maybe, because he's injured every week.
Johnny F. in football proved once again that besides the Tide, the rest of the SEC is as soft as Continental.
Did Johnny football boat race Mississippi State or what?
It's November 3rd, and the Indiana Hoosiers are in control of their own destiny.
Michigan State basketball starts this week!
If James Franklin didn't seem so darn casual, maybe Missouri would have pulled off the upset against Florida this week.
I just woke up, and it looks like I missed the only time this season Texas's defense has played competently.
My Auburn Tigers got off the snide today, even though it was against lowly New Mexico State, and I missed the game for a church function.
How can Arkansas look so horrible and yet be winning this game?
So I just wanted to point out that just because you play All I Do Is Win in the stands does not make it so. Looking in your direction, South Florida.
Thanksgiving at the Kiffin household is going to be real awkward this year after Lane is forced to fire his father.
At some point here, Lane Kiffin has to admit that the defense is dead and Pete Carroll running against the spread isn't going to work, right?
Late night Pac-12 football, you are my only friend.
UCLA is now in first place in the South of the Pac-12 outright. Hell, we got 81,000 UCLA fans to show up and to do the wave for 6 solid minutes.
Ty, are you okay? Are you okay?
Let's go off our biggest win in decades and almost lose to a team that got beat by young Celtics at home.
I got drunk off of one beer just because it pumped through my blood so quickly.
The refs gave you the call in the fourth quarter on the Tyler Eifert pass interference.
I don't know why I ever became a Pitt fan. I hate everything.
And I just got to ask you, Ty, why is it so impossible to get a hold of beer in Pennsylvania?
That's a very good question.
That's worthy.
That's a very good question. Medieval laws.
Yeah.
Medieval laws in Pennsylvania.
I don't know how that
when it comes to
works.
buying
I've
beer,
never
but
lived in a place where you can't buy alcohol on certain days or times.
You
or
could buy it
hours.
at Wegmans because they've got some sort of.
Well, what can't you do at Wegmans?
You can do whatever you want at
Sure.
Wegmans, quite honestly. But okay, so there you have it. Week 10 reverbs. As I said, a lot of calls that came in. I hope people aren't discouraged because we got a lot of calls that I could not play. We received 2 of the drunkest calls ever from the 217 area code, which I believe is somewhere in Illinois.
Sexually explicit.
I could not play them because of all the F-bombs, but we needed to at least give this gentleman credit because
Was he an Illinois fan?
He was cursing out Illinois.
Okay,
So
well, no,
one,
that's fair. So
one
yes,
could assume. I sent it
that's-
to Illini fan Scott.
Oh, good.
So he can at least enjoy in the excitement.
He doesn't
that
even
is.
watch the games anymore. They're too painful. He hopes they win, but they're
Yeah.
too painful.
Well, they scored like 20 points.
Yeah,
I think
that's their Super Bowl.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah,
anyway.
against
All right,
Ohio
so
State.
here's the deal.
Yeah.
The big game of the week was Alabama against LSU. This was sort of the one that that most people looked at and said, all right, this is the marquee matchup. 8 o'clock start on CBS. Vern Lunk was still no neck. I thought maybe it would get Alabama shut out his neck height.
Right.
So there was none. LSU trailed in this one 14-3 at half.
Yes, they did.
And I think you watched the first half of that game, and you couldn't come away with any other impression that LSU won that, that Alabama won the first half.
Yeah, LSU didn't outplay Alabama in that first half, but they looked much more in control than they've looked against good teams, including Alabama last year, Florida this year. Offensively, they were moving the ball much more. Seemed like they were put in a better position against a really good Alabama defense to succeed, even though they were outplayed.
Yeah, and LSU gambled a few times,
Yes.
too. They gambled, I know, once in the first half, that horrible fake
Awful.
The fake field, that was the worst fake field goal. For
No.
all the great plays that they have run off that fake, and
Yeah.
they've been very creative.
Yeah.
You remember the flip
over the head, yeah.
Over the head. I mean, that was
Against
great.
South Carolina, yeah.
This
against
was
Florida.
awful. Awful.
It's real, and then they had the onside kick that just didn't go far enough.
Yeah,
Kicker,
which
kicked or
was
touched
a
it,
hell
yeah.
of a kick, by the way.
Yeah, great kick.
Hell of a kick. If it doesn't come up and hit him in the arm, that's probably a recovery for them. Who knows what happens from that point?
Correct.
But there was also later in the game that 1 4th down player that sort of ran the wildcat and came up. I think they got taken for a loss on that play.
No,
a few really bad decisions. But I made the joke. LSU had a real opportunity. Second half.
AJ McCarron not having a good half at all.
Kind of struggling after that first half.
Pushing around Alabama.
Could have gotten the band charged up at night.
Yeah.
Get them, get them fired up.
It's very musical of you.
Trot out Rob Bolden.
That's
take
the
off
time.
the bubble. He's got experience against Alabama. Let's see what the
instant eligibility.
Let's see what our secret weapon could. No, they went with Zach Mettenberger.
You know what I loved about that second half, and I mentioned this on the tweeters, when Zach Mettenberger threw the touchdown pass to the corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
And when the receiver landed, and it was just a wall of sound at LSU. That was the single best. Forget about the football. The single best non-football experience of last night was that wall of sound after that touchdown.
Also, just watching J.C. Copeland.
Yes.
On the screen, the fullback for LSU, who is 6'1", listed at 6'1".
I think Chris Berman might have been aroused watching that.
He thinks it moved.
Yeah.
J.C. Copeland listed at 6'1", 272.
Right.
And runs faster than pretty much everyone. Not that I know many people 6'1", 272.
I loved the reaction online. It's like, fat guy, offensive skill player.
Yeah, I mean, he's a starting running back for like 100 FBS programs.
Yes, absolutely.
So by now you already know what the final score is, 21-17.
Yeah.
Alabama wins this one in dramatic fashion. LSU held a late lead here and then decided to play very soft, non-press coverage, whatever the opposite of press coverage is.
They had succeeded being physical with Alabama, yeah.
They just stopped doing that, and A.J. McCarron made the throws. He didn't make any throws in the second half until that final drive.
Right. And even the game winner was a screen that TJ Eldon really made happen, yeah.
Of course, but they continue to win. I don't want to say it's with pixie dust because Alabama's a very good team.
Right.
But I think it's worth noting that LSU exposed some weakness, if you want to call it that.
I wouldn't say weakness, but exposed non-immortality stuff about
Fair point.
about Alabama.
Certainly
they can be pushed around.
In the passing game, right? They can be pushed around. Zach Mettenberger.
And you've been saying it all year. There are holes to be had. That's funny when I hear it. In the Alabama secondary. And granted, LSU has talented receivers, and Zach Mettenberger played the game of the season for him.
Sure.
But yes, there are points, and again, it's going to come down to that front. LSU has a really good offensive line.
Yeah.
They were able to get a decent enough push against Alabama's offensive line at times. LSU came to play, and obviously they were right there. They brought everything they had, and Alabama just made the plays at the end.
And in hindsight, now looking back, that +9, that point spread seemed like the surest
You
bet.
can take that.
Yeah.
I think I went LSU.
Yeah, we both went LSU.
Yeah.
We both went LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, based on what we saw last year, why would you think this game wouldn't be a really tight game?
Absolutely.
You just
at
knew
night,
it would be.
in Baton Rouge and Tiger Stadium. Yeah.
So we're going to get back to Alabama in a little bit when we start talking about Texas A&M, but let's move to your team, Oregon, 62-51 over USC.
Yeah.
For those who watched this game, first punt came about a minute into the fourth quarter for Oregon, I think.
USC had punted before then, I believe.
Yeah, but Oregon's first punt
For Oregon,
didn't come until the fourth quarter. One of those deals, I was watching at home.
Mm-hmm.
We joked every play for Oregon worked.
Mm-hmm.
Every play worked. I didn't see the stat how many yards they got per play. It had to be at least 6 or 7 yards per play.
I think it was 8 or 9. It was almost 9, if not more.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me.
Right.
USC couldn't stop Oregon, and at many points in this game, Oregon could not stop USC.
Correct.
So for all the vaunted talk we've given to the Oregon defense this year, and I think they are improved, I stand by the fact that this is still a really good Oregon defense. They could not stop.
No.
You really can't defend the Oregon defense.
Find me a secondary that can, and Oregon can't. Find me. I have another. That's the second straight week of bourbon.
You drank a lot of coffee.
I had coffee. I had a breakfast sandwich. No, Oregon's defense was outplayed by USC's offense. They did a good job against the run, but a lot of teams have against USC's offensive line this season.
Yep.
But Matt Barkley, finding Marquise Lee, Nelson Aguilar, something that's not going to be mentioned, has a breakout game. I think he goes for like 160 yards. True freshman from Miami.
He grew up.
Oregon's secondary. The big thing about this game was, yes, Oregon allowed 51 points. Oregon didn't turn the ball over to the detriment of the game itself. They had the one bad fumble, but Matt Barkley throws 2 picks, threw a third one, but there was a phantom penalty called back.
Yep.
And Oregon won the turnover battle, and they won on the ground. Every single time you saw Kenyon Barner beating people, it was defensive ends. Linebackers were constantly out of position. There was not a corner that Kenyon Barner couldn't get to against this USC defense. 321, 324, whatever the final yardage was, is the indicator of that. Mariota looks terrific, both on the ground and through the air. So Monty Kiffin just got slapped across the face by a glove. Here's what I'm going to say, USC.
Monty Kiffin.
USC has a bunch of really good defensive players coming in, like 5-star kids, 4-star kids. Lane Kiffin should fire his dad.
Going to be an awkward Thanksgiving, as our one caller aptly put it in the reverbs.
Right, and USC is getting worse. This is USC's time because the sanctions are going to hurt harder in successive years, and Matt Barkley's gone, and they do have talent coming back, but the depth is going to be worse. So,
yeah, they need to do better.
I'm going to assume Robert Woods is gone after this year.
They need to do better on the defensive side for sure.
Right.
Although Oregon, I mean, this was the first game I think we saw them.
And we
really
saw 4 quarters of Oregon.
Yeah, they kept their foot on the gas for all 4 quarters.
Right.
This was sort of something new because Oregon has not had to do that.
Correct.
And we saw them do it here. I like the way they finished the game. Obviously, everyone's going to look and say, "Oh, Kenyon Barnard, 321, 5 touchdowns."
Right.
Okay, that huge number.
Superlative performance.
Huge numbers might get him in the Heisman race, no doubt. Marcus Mariota to me was actually the bigger story because you saw him in a big game on the road. This was unlike any situation he has seen to date. He missed 3 passes in this game, only 3 passes in this game, ran for almost 100 yards, threw for 4 touchdowns, looked very, very spotless when they needed him to. And as we talked,
they needed him to the whole game.
They needed him to. As we talked before we went on the air, you could maybe have a legitimate conversation as to who is better skill-wise between him and Darren Thomas. Now, I understand Darren Thomas is the best of everything in Oregon history, blah, blah, blah. I get that. Marcus Mariota, to me, he's built more solidly. Did I say that right?
No, you're
more
good.
Solid.
It's a little homoerotic, but I like it.
You know, so Marcus Mariota, the fact that he is so young, that's very beneficial.
Redshirt freshman, he has more quarterback talents than Darren Thomas has, just physically, and the ceiling is higher. He hasn't finished a season like Darren Thomas did, finishing meaning going to the Rose Bowl, winning. Darren Thomas never really lost Oregon a game.
Yeah.
I think Marcus Mariota, barring unforeseen injury, has been ridiculous and could go down as the greatest player in Oregon history.
This was big. So who does Oregon have left now?
They have Cal, Stanford, Oregon State.
Okay, they're not going to lose.
And the Pac-12 championship
They're not going to lose
game.
any of those games.
I can't see them
They're not
losing
gonna
those
lose
games.
any of those games. They have too much offense. None of those teams can score with Oregon.
Right.
Unless a freak injury, but the thing with Oregon is they have great depth.
Yes.
They have really good depth, and they have a number of different ways they can
You know where they can't afford? I mean, it's the obvious answer is Mariota can't go down.
Well, Brian Bennett's not bad, though.
Brian Bennett's not bad, but
Brian Bennett could run that offense.
he's not a national championship quarterback the way Mariota looks.
All right, Notre Dame Pitt. Let's get this over with. 3 OT.
Let's get spicy.
Notre Dame 29, Pitt 26. Notre Dame rallies 20-6 deficit. At
By the way,
start.
glasses.
I see
really
the glasses.
working out for me.
You
well.
like that?
Yeah, I like that. And we already
I told him to go with the glasses today.
I feel
for
good.
those who are watching live, he
feel
doesn't.
Good. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like it.
No, I wanted to start on a positive note with Notre Dame and then go from there.
Okay, so you got the glasses, and I saw someone tweet us that I look less Asian Italian today.
Yeah, that's our friend Will.
There is no Asian blood in me.
I don't know. I could see it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could see it.
I don't know where people get this stuff, but
you're a
all right.
good-looking dude. There could be some Asian in you.
Thanks, Dan. All right, so Notre Dame Pitt, you're just distracting me from the obvious here. Notre Dame rallies from a 20-6 deficit after the third quarter to win this game.
Yeah.
2 different teams. I think if you watch this game, if you're a Notre Dame fan, 2 different teams based on what you saw in the first through third quarters and then the fourth quarter. Notre Dame put its foot on the gas, and Pitt made some curious play calls in the second half of the fourth quarter that I think allowed Notre Dame to even be in the position to win this game. So if people out there watch, like, oh, Notre Dame, I heard someone calling, Notre Dame got lucky. Notre Dame did get lucky. In a lot of spots in that game, Notre Dame got very lucky.
I wish you would always speak in that voice.
You like that voice?
Yeah, I like that.
Notre Dame did get lucky a number of different times. But guess what? Every team who's going to win a national championship ever is going to get lucky at some. I'm not saying Notre Dame's going to be that team this year, but certainly if you're going to be 9-0 at this point in the season, if you're going to be in the top 5, you need to have a little bit of luck go your way.
Right.
They had a lot of luck go their way yesterday. So let's just get that on the table. It was the ultimate letdown spot for Notre Dame given the win last week against Oklahoma. Coming back, Notre Dame was totally flat for the first 3 quarters of that game. Something happened in the fourth quarter. I don't know what it was. Obviously, it doesn't look great that they go to 3 OT to beat Pitt.
No.
I get that. Okay, I'll concede as much.
They lost to Youngstown State.
I don't care.
The Penguins.
I don't care.
Okay.
All right, and we can argue about this until we're blue in the face.
It's the great coaching cradle of college football.
Okay, we'll get to this.
Yes.
We'll get to this. Notre Dame does come away the winner.
They do.
29-26. I said it off air. I'll say it again. Because Notre Dame is young in some key spots, Notre Dame, to me, stands a better chance of losing to either Wake Forest or Boston College than they might to USC.
Playing down to their opponents.
They will be up for that USC game just like they were up for Oklahoma. All right, so I feel better even though it's a better team,
right?
I feel like you're going to at least see the best that Notre Dame has to offer in that game, end of year against USC. USC is going to be up too, because that's really the only bright spot on their schedule at this point. But I am curious to see if you're a bettor at home.
I would say UCLA
I'm looking
is
into
another
camera.
UCLA is another big moment for USC as well.
Okay. Well, if you're a bettor, bet heavily on Notre Dame next week. Bet heavily against Notre Dame the week before the
they
USC
have Boston College this
Boston
coming week
at Boston College.
Right. Oh, they actually go on the road.
They do go on the road.
Oh, that's kind of cool for them.
Yeah, they're kind of like Oregon. You know,
yeah.
they play every so often on the road.
Oregon, yeah, they played a little more.
All right. Get it out of your system. What do you think of Notre Dame? You've been tweeting up a storm here.
All right.
I love when you try to rile all the Notre Dame fans.
I had mentioned that I thought Notre Dame should be ranked behind Georgia. I don't like Georgia.
Okay.
I don't like Georgia at all. I don't like Notre Dame at all. And this is why.
At all. Okay.
If you're a top 4 team, if you're an undefeated team in November, there's a certain standard I feel like you should be playing at. And maybe that's just my expectation.
So this is the Dan Rubenstein standard.
This is the Dan Rubenstein standard of top 4 teams in a national championship discussion. Beating BYU, Pitt, and Purdue by a combined 9 points, needing triple overtime to beat Pitt, a team that lost to Youngstown State, an FCS team. You want to talk about resume? There's a resume item that's blaring to me.
Okay.
I feel worse and worse about Brian Kelly each week. He seems like an indecisive buffoon.
Okay.
With his storming around on the sideline. You like the use of the word buffoon. Even if you don't agree, you like the use of the word buffoon.
He's been less read this year, though.
He has been less read.
I don't know if it's something with the contrast of the NBC cameras.
Right.
By the way, no Tom Hammond yesterday.
Yeah, but that was weird.
It's part of the reason why this game went 3-0. A lot of cosmic forces at play, but continue.
I'm going to continue.
We promised the people here fisticuffs today.
Right.
So we may get there. But
when Notre Dame looks good, I'm the first person to say they look good.
Okay.
The win over Michigan State, the win over Miami, the win over Oklahoma, they physically have dominated teams and looked terrific and looked the part of a team that should be in the conversation for the national championship game.
Agreed.
But of the 4 teams that are undefeated, and I'm taking into account Oregon's schedule, and I'm taking into account that I'm an Oregon fan and completely biased in their direction.
You are.
Notre Dame looks the least deserving with perhaps the most impressive schedule.
Okay, so you're going
football
eye test.
team,
You're saying eye test.
eyeball test and results against average teams. I think Kansas State has played down to one opponent. I think Oregon has probably played down to one opponent in USC, but USC's offense is great. Oregon simply got outplayed on the defensive side of the ball, and Oregon has played weaker teams. Alabama has had one close game, and it leaves Notre Dame playing against the 3 down games that Notre Dame has had. I don't feel like any of those other 3 national championship contenders would have been within 2 touchdowns against.
Here's my counterpoint.
Yeah.
You can't make the resume argument and ignore the fact that of the top teams right now, Notre Dame has beaten more ranked teams than anyone else. More than Oregon.
Yep.
More than Alabama.
Yes.
More than Georgia. I know a team that you would argue for.
I wouldn't argue for. I would say they're right there, essentially.
You can't make one half of that argument without making the other.
Sure, absolutely.
And, specifically with the Georgia argument. The Georgia argument is compelling because we talked about it a little bit before we went on the air.
Yeah.
If there's a game in South Bend between Notre Dame and Georgia, what's the point spread? Who do you favor there? Georgia's defense has been suspect. Notre Dame could probably move the ball in Georgia's defense. I don't care how much talent's there. Georgia's let teams move the ball.
Correct.
Georgia's let teams move the ball. And I think Notre Dame's defense could hold its own. I don't think you can make the argument that Notre Dame has not had an impressive resume. They have certainly played down at times.
Right.
And I think that is a function of having youth at key positions.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, wins over 4 ranked teams.
I don't think Stanford is good. And I'm a
You
Pac-12
did
guy.
before, though.
I did before.
You did before.
And I've seen them play since they've lost to Washington.
Agreed.
I think they're good. I think they're a top 25 team. And
Agreed.
Notre Dame has the top 25 resume. At this point, combination, eyeball test, and resume, Notre Dame needing what they've needed to beat average teams. They've beaten good teams, but if you're going to take good wins, I'm going to take bad wins at the same time.
Okay. Well, you're looking half empty. I'm looking half full.
That's fine.
I guess,
And here's my final thought on Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They're really good. Notre Dame is extraordinarily good at football. The defense is outstanding, but there are issues.
There are issues. The other thing that you overlook.
And I would hate to see an Alabama-Notre Dame championship this weekend.
Okay.
I would hate that.
Fair enough. The other thing you overlook, and then we'll move on a little bit. You talk about Brian Kelly, but if you talk to Notre Dame people, if you read what Notre Dame people are writing, one of the first things they'll point out is that they have not seen player development in season.
Terrific.
The way that we've seen this.
I'm saying
never
in game, Brian Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, you've never seen that kind of stuff before, at least not in recent memory at Notre Dame. He's really done a good job coaching these people up. So there's no doubt if you take games.
I like how you said player and not quarterback, by the way.
Everett Golson's been pretty good.
He's been all right.
He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
Have you watched the last 2 games?
I have watched the last 2 games.
Okay. He was shaky to start. He was shaky to start.
I judge it in points.
Okay. Well, I judge it in watching the games too.
Right. And in the points that they're scoring against Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Pittsburgh. If Tommy Rees is relieving you early on in the second half.
Tommy Rees will be relieving no one ever again.
Okay.
That experiment is over.
Okay. As long as you say
Everett
so.
Golson looked very good when he had to yesterday. Shaky at points in the game, very shaky against Stanford, a game we watched here. Everett Golson has improved. Everett Golson's much better now.
Oh, he's a good quarterback.
So let's not dock the quarterback here. He's come a long way.
But they have superior talent and are doing less with more.
Oh, okay, we'll disagree. They're getting better.
They're getting better.
They
are getting better.
Still hoping for the Solid Verb Bowl.
Still very much hoping. Let's go to other games. This is boring.
Kansas State 44, Okie State 30. Colin Klein in. What did he injure? His arm, his wrist, his hand.
Mm-hmm. All of the above.
What do we? They bring in the son of Sam's. I love calling him that. If he has to come in and pass, that's going to be an issue. I know he went like 6 of 7, but if they have to rely on him to pass, it's going to be a much different Kansas State team.
It's a question. We haven't really seen
it
yet. Right.
And Bill Snyder very close to the vest in terms of these injuries. And I know Heather Cox, I think, asked him, well, what about the injury? I don't talk about injuries. Right. Very crass, the crass old man.
Hey, it's obviously an injury. I don't talk about
He doesn't want to talk about injuries.
Right.
Now, I enjoyed the amateur analyses of the injury on the sidelines. Well, he's smiling. Can't be that bad. He's smiling.
He's in good spirits.
He's happy. He's laughing. Can't be that bad.
Right.
For all we know, his arm is disconnected.
Indeed.
But we will wait and see. If they lose Colin Klein, obviously Kansas State a much different team.
Yep.
Still putting up 44 here against Oklahoma State. Might have been a different game if Okie State didn't turn the ball. I know Oklahoma State people don't like Okie State.
Right.
It's just shorter. It just rolls. It's a slang thing.
Right.
We cool.
Yeah, we cool. Don't ever say that
We're
again.
New York.
All
Oklahoma State turns the ball over 5 times.
Yeah.
5 times would have been a different game.
It would have been a different game, but that's what Kansas State, to their credit, I think Alan Chapman is the corner for Kansas State. It was like the Walter Camp player of the week, the defensive player of the week. He has 3 picks. Kansas State, all over the field. Talented, developed, ridiculous. And love to see this. Love to see great coaching. Love to see undervalued players reaching their potential as they do at Kansas State. Love all things KSU. Hope Colin Klein is out a minimal amount of time.
Right. Let me ask you a question very quickly about K-State.
Mm-hmm.
For all the praise that I know you've given K-State.
It's TCU, and who do they have?
Baylor.
TCU, Baylor, and Texas. Yeah.
For all the praise I know you've given Kansas State, and I have been on record time and time again saying that I'm still not buying K-State.
Right.
K-State's been impressive.
Somebody wrote a whole long email or big old website trying to refute your claims.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm perfectly willing to accept that.
Sure.
If K-State is as solid across, and maybe you can make this point for any team. I'm hedging.
Mm-hmm.
But if K-State is as solid across the board as people want me to believe, then why is the first thing we're talking about, well, if Colin Klein's out, they're going to lose their next game?
Well, I mean,
Why are people making that point? Shouldn't they be so solid?
I don't think they're going to lose their next game if Colin Klein is out. They have 3 bad defenses left.
How are they going to score points?
They're going to run their offense. I'm not saying that Sam's is great and he's going to win them the games, but they have a good offensive line. I really like John Hubert. I love that their defense is good enough to stop those teams. We saw what their defense was able to do against West Virginia. We've seen what they've been able to do all season long. I think they can win in a number of ways. I think Colin Klein is the most outstanding. He's the most valuable player to his team, more so than anybody else in the country, probably.
I think they're a wealthy man's Michigan.
That could. Well, no. I think that's
wealthy man's Michigan.
I think that's overvaluing Michigan and undervaluing Kansas State.
A very wealthy man's
Michigan.
Yes. Mitt Romney's Michigan.
They're Mitt Romney's Michigan.
Okay.
All right.
So K-State wins 44-30.
Yes.
As you mentioned, a few games coming up here. They're going to need to score points in order to win those games because I think those teams will be able to score points with them. But look, it's getting, again, more and more difficult to defend the logic that K-State isn't for real.
Can I say something else? And this has been discussed a lot, but perhaps still not enough. Bill Snyder is an effing great coach.
He's good.
He is. They have. That's what they don't. Even if they lose Colin Klein, they've got a great flipping coach.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way.
We must move quickly. We talked a lot about those games for good reason.
Yeah.
Georgia, a team you apparently love, maybe more than Notre Dame.
Coming to Georgia.
37-10 over Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Georgia just one win at
Start
Auburn.
slow, yeah.
Away from getting to that SEC title game. Aaron Murray has
What
really
is
nice
an Auburn really, though? What are we talking about here?
What is Auburn? It's like an existential question.
And
at this
Auburn
point.
is better than a New Mexico State. We certainly, without a doubt, know that right now.
I want to see more from Georgia.
Yeah.
I want to see Georgia against better teams.
Yeah.
I'm still not sold on Georgia.
That's fair.
Georgia hasn't done a whole
Georgia
lot to
has
impress
all
me.
sorts of resume holes. I don't love Georgia. I'm lumping them in with Notre Dame right now. They're two teams that I think have holes in their resumes.
Okay.
All
right. I can't convince you. That's
Yeah,
fine.
it's okay.
Texas A&M 38, Mississippi State 13.
Interesting game.
Johnny Manziel 311 passing,
Johnny
129 rushing, 693 total yards. Johnny Manziel, the big story for me is not even the fact that he did this to Mississippi State.
Was it the Scooby-Doo costume with the stripper?
The Scooby-Doo costume with the stripper.
I like that was the big story to me.
I mean, I guess if you're a quarterback in
Yeah.
the SEC,
Right.
Now, see, this is where we missed our calling.
We should have been SEC quarterbacks.
We should have been, despite the fact that I'm like a foot shorter than I need to be.
We're combined 11 feet tall.
You know, this is where
No, we're
life
bigger
has
than that.
been
We're
cruel to
almost 12
us.
feet.
But
Yeah.
actually, the big story for me, outside the Scooby-Doo and the stripper stuff, the fact that A&M now goes to Tuscaloosa next week, and Johnny Manziel is going to get his crack at Alabama.
Yes.
How do you see that one breaking out?
I see it going very similarly to the way it went against LSU, where they'll have success early because there will be packages put into the game. Packages. That will allow Texas A&M to succeed.
Right.
But I think that Alabama will do a good job of physically, defensively containing him and not letting him get to the edge. Even though he did get to the edge a little bit early against LSU, the big difference to me is when he's given time, and he's got two great tackles, when he's given time to make plays, he is ridiculous. I don't think Alabama's going to give him that time. And when he's able to beat man defensive coverages, he's unbelievable. I don't think that Texas A&M is going to be able to do that against Alabama. I was talking to the Chris Brown on Smart Football and the Twitters about this, and he's just not there yet to make consistent intermediate and deep throws, which is what you need to do, which is what we saw Zach Mettenberger do last night to beat Alabama for 4 quarters. But I think it's going to be crazy interesting.
It's interesting. I like Bama a lot. A lot. I don't know what the point spread is yet. I want to see what...
I like that A&M was able to hold Mississippi State down on the road defensively.
Yeah.
Something we haven't seen them with the struggles against Louisiana Tech. They let Ole Miss score 27. Yeah. They have given up points. The fact that they're able to do that on the road in a hostile SEC environment is a very positive factor.
I like Manziel. He's only going to get better. Kevin Sumlin's already done an amazing job.
Yep.
I don't like this matchup. I don't like this matchup with Alabama. I want to see the point spread, though. That will help determine how good or bad I feel about this matchup.
I love this game. Just from a football standpoint, I love the fact that we get to see this.
And
in
from
a week.
a solid Verbowl perspective,
Love
obviously, we love this one a little bit more because this may represent
big.
one of 2 final chances for Alabama to drop a game.
Right.
You know, and who knows what happens with Colin Klein.
Is there a possibility Georgia and Notre Dame could play in a bowl?
God, I hope so, Dan.
I would love that.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, it would mean Notre Dame and Georgia probably would lose again, so that kind of sucks. But that would be fun.
I'm not. Don't get me going about Georgia and Notre Dame.
Yeah,
don't
continue.
get me going. You know my resume.
I'm stirring it up.
All right, staying in the state of Texas, figuratively, not literally. TCU on the road beats West Virginia in OT 39-38.
Yes,
TCU goes for 2 in overtime and wins this. We can conclude that West Virginia may not be as good as we once thought.
Yeah, well, when you stop playing Baylor and Texas defenses, things
it'll
become
happen,
tougher.
Right? This was a weird game, too, because the point spread moved a lot.
Yeah.
And I like to look at games like that. I'm all over Twitter saying that, wow, point spread here. What's going on? What?
Yeah.
They're only a 3.5-point favorite. What?
Yeah. When it seems weird, go with the part that seems weird.
TCU goes on the road and wins. And this is a big win for them because I think a lot of people out there, myself included, kind of thought this team was in disarray after losing Casey.
I do with the Hebrew pronunciation.
Right. But they win this one. So this is a nice road win for them.
The cool thing about West Virginia is before West Virginia was a solution to a struggling offense, much like Texas was a solution to a struggling rushing game. With West Virginia now, you can even play crappy and beat them.
Yeah.
Trevon Boykin throws more picks than touchdowns, doesn't throw for 50%, still gets the win on the big 2-point conversion, I believe, in double overtime. Big ballsy move from Gary Patterson. Somebody asked us on the Twitter. I'm going to jump in and ask you.
Yeah.
Is that the right move? On the road, down in overtime, when you're second with the ball, as TCU was in the second overtime.
Takes balls, man.
I love it, but in a hostile environment, to not have to not have to continue. I know English again. To not have to continue playing in that hostile environment.
Right.
Just go for it. I mean, I like it.
I like it. I do, and especially since
You have the opportunity to win on your hands. Take
I like it. It's one of those things where if it works, you're a genius. If it doesn't, everyone's like, oh, what
No,
you do that for?
I still think I love those calls.
I think TCU's in a spot where they needed something like this.
Yeah.
They needed something like this, and you know, with the new starting quarterback now, with Pahal being out,
Stud receiver and Josh Boyce, who officially is
a Boyce.
A Boyce.
He is a Boyce. All right, TCU wins by 1 on the road. Texas wins on the road as well.
Yeah.
31-22.
They hang on.
Texas outgained but wins.
Mm-hmm.
This was a nice win for them. They needed to get things going. David Ash actually did play in this one.
David Ash played, started off really strong. Mike Davis, huge game in the receiving game. Second half, it seemed like Texas Tech outplayed them. They made the necessary adjustments and really shut down the Texas offense, really couldn't get much going. But great win for Texas to go on the road. If they lose this game, I posted this earlier, could have been a nosedive for the season.
Yeah. No, this is a good win. Good win for them.
I just burped again. They hang on. It's real weird. I know. I don't know.
Too much coffee, man.
It's the coffee.
How much coffee you have today?
I had
You're like
one,
ready to jump through the screen.
I had one. I know I am. I had one cup. I'm fading right now as we're going on in the show. But yes, Texas, nice win on the road against a decent enough Tech team.
All right.
In hideous uniforms.
Bad uniforms.
Oh gosh.
Really bad.
Real bad.
Those are awful.
They were Under Armour All-American high school uniforms
God.
made by Under Armour for Tech. It was just bad. Bad
Glasses to shield your eyes.
Yes.
Louisville 45-17. This is my lock of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Teddy Bridge over troubled waters. Not much troubled waters in this one.
Don't do that ever
324, 5 touchdowns. Pulled away. Didn't let Temple score, I think, at all in the second half. So
Right.
Louisville now.
Montel Harris, a nice game, though, for Temple.
Louisville undefeated. I think 9-0 for the first time ever.
They should be a top 10 team now. I think they went into this 12 in the AP poll.
They were 10, I think, in the BCS.
Okay.
But, yeah, now they're ranked. And, you know, again, we can have the argument where they should be ranked.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to be ranked behind one-loss teams, you think Notre Dame should be behind a one-loss?
I don't know where the exact ranking should be.
Louisville hasn't beaten any ranked teams at all.
Well, Virginia Tech started the season ranked, Ty. They
Louisville-
just happen to be 4 and 5
Louisville
now.
has not beaten a ranked team all year.
Right.
Has not beaten a ranked team all year.
They can only play who's in front of them.
Has not beaten a ranked team all
Correct.
year. So,
Oh, I'm not arguing Louisville in the national championship. I think Louisville's
fair
a
point.
really great team.
Oregon State 36, Arizona State 26.
Mm-hmm.
Nice rebound win for Oregon State here.
Very nice rebound win. They make the decision to go Cody Vaz. Sean Mannion still dealing with issues physically and otherwise. Cody Vaz is a very nice game. Their first really strong game at home, I thought, for Oregon State. Defensively, I thought was where they really shined. Arizona State has had a good offense at times, granted against lesser teams. I think Arizona State is on the Texas nosedive. Oregon State looking great ahead of a semi-backloaded end of their schedule.
Oklahoma 35, Iowa State 20 on the road. Oklahoma pretty much runs and throws all over Iowa State. 593 total yardage. Landry Jones 405, 2 scores. Brennan Clay, who you informed me is from the same high school as one Tate Forcier.
Tate Forcier.
Tate
Scripps
Forcier
Ranch.
is still looking for a program, man.
Stand up,
Still
San
got that
Diego.
eligibility.
Right.
Tate Forcier ready to play quarterback for your team. You still got the eligibility.
I think we made some sort of blood oath to never speak of Tate Forcier again at a certain point. Now
I want
I'm
to
just
know.
getting
Someone
comfortable.
tell me what Tate Forcier is doing right now.
If I had to guess what he's doing right now,
I want to know what he's doing right now on a Sunday.
Well, I would
Sunday morning.
If he were stronger, I'd say delivering furniture for IKEA.
Right.
Yeah. The
Right.
blue and yellow. It
Yeah.
makes sense, but I have no idea.
Tate Forcier. All right.
Yeah.
So they win 35-20.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Oklahoma, I think just trying to figure out where it goes from here.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, this was a game with a point spread that was under 2 scores.
Right.
The kind of game
They
I know
barely cover.
They barely cover. We both looked at this one and said, well, we could see Iowa State maybe keeping this close. The type of game Iowa State has kept close in the past. So it was good to see Landry Jones go on the road and have
Solid game.
Have a solid game. All right. Clemson 56, Duke 20. How did we overlook the fact that Clemson was only a 12-point favorite against Duke?
Well, it was only like 2 weeks ago where we said Duke and controlling their own destiny
Yeah, no,
in the
that's-
same phrase. That was the thing.
That's like the kiss of death.
Yeah.
So Clemson runs, throws, whatever is all over Duke.
Yes.
36-point spread here. Your victory margin. Speaking of which, Stanford 48, Colorado 0.
7 quarterbacks played in this game.
Colorado 76 total yards, -21 rushing.
Colorado is maybe somebody posted something interesting. Colorado might be the worst FBS team of all time or BCS conference team of all time.
Horrible.
And yet beat Washington State. I love that so much.
They're so bad.
Yeah, they are.
They are so bad right now.
Indeed.
San Diego State beats Boise on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a weird game. They ran back an opening kickoff, blocked the punt in the second half. Boise misses a 2-point conversion that would have tied it late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Not really notable for any
Boise
reason.
State shouldn't have been ranked going
Boise
into this.
State should not have been ranked. Not really notable for any other reason, I think, then. This was a really big win for San Diego State.
Yes.
We don't talk much San Diego State Aztecs football
This is
here
a big San Diego show today.
on the program.
Eat
but
at Hodad's.
This was... I don't even know what that is.
It's a burger place in San Diego.
I like burger
Continue.
places. Nice win for them. Good for them. Good for
Good for them, patting you on the head.
Yeah,
No, San
just
Diego
good
State
job.
they played Washington awfully tough. They held Washington down early on.
Ryan Katz out for the year.
Ryan Katz, the injury that they've
Transfer.
had, but yes, they've gotten. I mean, they had what's his name from USC, the running back,
Sure.
Dylan Baxter.
Dylan Baxter, yeah.
Dylan Thomas too.
Yeah.
Dylan Baxter, yeah. And they had Bryce Butler. They're getting top level guys to at least transfer there, which is a nice start to get the ball rolling in a nice neighborhood to recruit to.
Nebraska 28, Michigan State 24. We had the caller write in and say that Michigan State basketball starts this week, so there's something. There's good.
It didn't seem like pass interference on Kenny Bell, but
No.
Nebraska's like, we're just gonna go.
We're just going to roll with this. Michigan State holds down any semblance of a passing attack here.
Yeah.
But surprisingly can't stop the run. I think you might be inclined
Taylor
to think
Martinez
the
doesn't go
opposite,
50%.
Right? Think the opposite in this one in
Right.
this game because Michigan State actually does have a pretty good rushing attack. T-Magic runs all over Michigan State. in
And
this one.
Le'Veon Bell all over Nebraska, the labia bell.
Yeah, there it is. Ding. Let's ring the bell.
Yeah.
UCLA 66, Arizona 10.
It's a trap.
Presented without commentary.
Right.
42-3 was your halftime margin.
Yeah, no, it's not just a trap game. Matt Scott should not have been playing in this game. He was probably concussed to my amateur medical eye.
The coaches here wore war paint.
The coaches did wear war paint in the UCLA game. I did not
war
look
paint.
why. I just looked at the pictures and enjoyed
sort of
them.
a weird thing.
Yeah.
Sort of a weird thing here. And what else? Oh, we never talked about Florida. Perhaps it's selective memory. We can go back to this 14-7 over Missouri.
14 points, 4 picks on James Franklin, and they turned that into 14 points.
You can't make a point for me
Right.
at this juncture that that Florida is.
Your computer just made a bubble sound.
That Florida is much better than Notre Dame.
Right.
You can't make that point for me. I saw Clay Travis. Clay Travis, by the way.
Yeah.
I love.
Oh,
Clay.
was he trying to say that Florida's better than Notre Dame?
He was trying to say that Notre Dame's the 7th best team in the SEC right now.
Oh, the 7th best
seventh
team?
best team.
Where would you put them in the SEC right now?
Well,
Third?
I would say this, in fairness to Clay Travis, he also has the Chicago Bears at 5th in his SEC power rankings.
Okay.
And I love Clay.
Sure.
I love Clay. I'm happy to have that argument.
We
with him
love
anytime.
Clay, but
What's Florida done? What's Florida done that's been really impressive other than beat LSU?
that's a good win.
That's a good win.
That's
But
impressive.
But what's with the old LSU offense?
Right.
What's Florida done? That's
Okay.
made you so impressed that you'd say, oh, they're better than Notre Dame.
Florida minus 3.5 in South Bend.
Minus 3.5. Can they
Minus-
score 3.5?
Minus minus
Can they
3.5 in
score
South
3.5?
Bend. Florida minus 3.5.
I'll take the points.
You're taking the points. LSU minus a touchdown in South Bend.
Not convinced that LSU can. Not convinced that Notre Dame can score.
Against LSU.
Yeah. But
So
not
I'm
convinced
saying
that, not
minus
convinced
7.
that not convinced that LSU can score on Notre Dame either.
Minus 7 on a neutral field, LSU Notre Dame. Our poster just fell. Where's Robbie? Robbie!
Get Rocky.
Let's get Robbie, the producer, to.
I don't know. You're killing my brain here.
Yeah.
You're
All
killing
right.
my brain here. But my point is I'm very unimpressed. There he is. Hi, Robbie. I am very unimpressed with
Yeah.
Florida. With what
So
we
am
saw.
I.
Very unimpressed.
Yeah,
with
no,
Florida.
very much are.
And
Big
I
dumb
would-
Will Muschamp offense, as Spencer
Yeah.
Hall likes to say.
But Florida has beat 3 ranked teams.
Yeah.
Which is
Here's
still
my
more than
question to
Oregon,
you.
still more than Georgia, more than Louisville, more than LSU.
Oh, that's cute. You did math.
Just saying. No, I got numbers here, Dan.
Let me ask you this: how good is UCLA? Because they're slowly going to creep. They've got All right, that was weird.
That was weird.
They have a pretty nice road. They've got USC.
Right.
They might have Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game again in Eugene. How good is UCLA?
UCLA is not as good as I thought at the start of the season when I said they could go 12-0.
In all fairness,
Right.
you thought 44 different teams were going undefeated this year.
At one point, there were 44 undefeated teams. So
Right.
I think that's
Central Florida still feeling good about their undefeated 2011.
Central Florida, BCS sleeper.
I don't
2011.
see a loss on Central Florida's schedule.
It was Florida International. Thank you.
Florida International, excuse me.
But, they're all sort of the
All
same.
the same
These directional
thing. Yeah.
Floridas.
Yeah.
These international
All right.
Floridas.
I think UCLA is pretty good.
I think they're good. I want to see how they handle the rushing game against USC.
Yep.
Because that was something Stanford did.
Yes.
Against USC. And the defense does not seem to be improving to the point where I'm wholly confident they're going to stop Jonathan Franklin.
Right.
So I think they're good when they have balance. I have questions about the defense. They have a lot of talent. And I'm actually quite impressed with the job that Jim L. Moore or John L., whatever the hell his name is. I don't even know.
Jamel.
Whatever he's going at, Jamel Hill.
Jamel Mora. I like that.
Whoever is coaching
like
that
John
team.
L. Smith, John L., as our friend Holly Anderson says. Yeah.
You know, I'm impressed by the job they've done, but I'm not impressed at all with the Pac-12.
No, neither am I.
Outside Oregon and outside USC and doses.
Oregon State has been decent.
I mean, if you feel the way you feel about Notre Dame, that's how I feel about Oregon State.
I think that's totally fair.
You know, so I think UCLA is serviceable.
Except Oregon State scores more than 17 against BYU.
Oregon State's only beat 2 ranked teams, Dan.
Yeah.
2 ranked teams.
Listen, I'm eye testing and resume.
Watered down Pac-12.
I love you so much, Ty.
I do. They have a good defense.
Yeah.
All right, let's shake it out here.
You just touched
Actually,
my
that
leg.
said weird. That
Yeah.
was weird. Thanks for tuning into the Solid Verbal.
Yeah. Do you want to answer any questions?
Do we have any here? We got a couple minutes left. What do we got?
Well, there was the Asian question, but then
I'm not Asian.
Where's that hoodie from? Uniqlo? It's from Target.
Is that a unisex?
No, you've never been to Uniqlo?
No.
It's a pretty good store. It's like the Japanese H&M. It's down the block. It's pretty good.
Okay.
What other questions do we have here? We talked about J.C. Copeland.
He is a bouse, by the way. He eats children. That's how he got so big.
I don't know. The questions: Will Colorado State ever win the Bronze Boot again? I don't know what Colorado State is.
Who doesn't like the Bronze
The
Boot?
question to Dan: How many good losses does Notre Dame need before they're better than Georgia? That's a good question. I don't know. Whatever. I'm over Notre Dame. I'm over Georgia. I just know that USC fans are defensive.
You're just a Pac-12 homer.
What are we looking forward to next week?
Ooh, wow. Well, the Texas A&M Bama game.
Texas A&M Bama.
You know, that jumps off the page. I want to see how Notre Dame rebounds, of course, because I'm horribly biased.
Right.
I do want to see that. What other games are on the slate?
On
Admittedly,
tap?
I looked so much at the games this week that I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to what we got next week.
We got Notre Dame, BC.
Florida State, Virginia Tech next week?
Yeah, who cares?
Remember when we thought Virginia Tech might win that game?
No, forget it.
That's
Logan Thomas.
That's not happening.
Will be drafted or picked up as a free agent.
Right.
So I don't know.
All right, so here's one. K-State against TCU. Interesting matchup. More interesting now that TCU went on the road.
48% over under Trevon Boykin completion percentage against Kansas State.
Under.
That feels right.
Yeah, I go under.
Louisville, Syracuse over under 78 points in that game.
Under.
Under. Interesting.
Yeah.
West Virginia, Oklahoma State.
Over.
Okay.
Over.
Oregon, Cal is not that interesting. USC, Arizona State becomes less interesting. Oregon State, Stanford. Robbie is doing an awful job of our posters
tape.
today.
We need better tape.
Yeah.
Our tape's like Texas.
Typical New Braintree fraud. New Braintree Mass was responsible for putting up the poster behind us.
Oregon State, Stanford.
Yeah.
Under.
Feels undery.
Under.
Yeah. Penn State, Nebraska.
Awful.
Yeah, that's
Awful
going to
game.
be
By the
bad
way,
football.
people still need to pump the brakes on Penn State a little bit. And I got into a vaunted Facebook argument with a good friend. And they're coming out now. Penn State could beat Notre Dame. Penn State couldn't score on Notre Dame.
Yeah, I don't feel
Matt
good about
McGloin's
that.
been better.
Right.
Matt McGloin has no arm strength, and they can't run the ball.
Right.
So I like Penn State, and I'm rooting for Penn State. Penn State's not beating Notre Dame.
Mhm.
And Penn State's probably
Go
not
Falcons.
beating... Okay, there he is again.
That
Thank
was
you.
weird.
Penn State's not beating Nebraska.
Right.
I like Penn State.
Who
I
is-
want Penn State to win. They're not beating Nebraska.
Okay, before we sign off,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this. And you get to have the final word.
The arbiter, yes.
Leanne, can we see the tire fire on Fire's tires?
Oh, do we have that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like we do.
I forgot about the tire fire. There it is.
I hear it.
You're looking at me. You're hearing the tire fire music.
There we go.
There it is. Hello. Tire fire music.
Who is your tire fire of the week? Oh, we don't have the keyboard. Like this.
We don't have tire fire.
Tire fire.
Florida offense was pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky anything is awful right now.
Kentucky bad was real bad.
Did you see the crowd at halftime of that game?
Tennessee needed 4 full ass
There are more
quarters to
people
beat
watching
Troy.
us than Kentucky football right
Yeah.
now. So Kentucky in general.
Mm-hmm.
The Auburn. Well, we can't even throw Auburn under the bus this week because they actually won.
They
again.
did win. That
Tennessee.
That's what I say. 4 full quarters to beat Troy.
Yeah, no, that was curious at best. The Derek Dooley stool. I think maybe
the stool sample.
The stool is on fire.
Yeah.
Right now, so a couple.
I'm going to say Colorado.
Colorado's awful.
Yeah, Colorado's is Colorado the Auburn of the Pac-12, or is Auburn the Colorado of the SEC?
I don't think anything is the Colorado of anything
Right.
now. Colorado is really bad to the point where we made
I
the
would
joke
say
about,
I'm the Colorado of podcast hosts to Notre Dame fans.
Okay, that's
I think
fair.
that-
But we made the jokes about Arkansas and the Fayetteville National Credit Union and,
Right.
and Auburn and Kyle Frazier and their offense, and they're sort of enshrined now in Tire Fire lore.
Yeah.
It's almost insult to injury for Colorado.
Right.
At this point. First off, it's shocking that we haven't given them the award to this juncture. I don't
Right.
think we've even considered them.
Yeah,
it's like the 10 in blackjack.
I felt bad.
Right? You just assume
Yeah.
Colorado
That's
has
an
its-
assumed thing.
I mean, they're really, really bad, and I feel bad for Rich and Boulder.
I'm going to ask you 2 more questions.
Okay.
And then we're going to leave and give these fine people
Okay.
a chance to enjoy their days
Yes, do
and
it.
weeks. Your 4, we're in New York, 4 Heisman finalists.
Colin Klein.
Yep.
Manti Te'o.
Sure.
Marquise Lee.
Interesting. Yeah.
Got to be Marquise Lee. And Kenyon Barner.
Who is the single most dynamic person in college football with the ball in their hands? I think it's Marquise Lee.
Yeah.
I think he's entering the discussion. Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, and
good.
Michael Crabtree as for recent college receivers.
It's really interesting from the standpoint, too, that I know the Heisman odds because
That's what you are.
Being someone
A
who,
degenerate.
just recreationally, of course, follows these odds.
Obviously.
You looked at the preseason odds for Marquise Lee.
And
you
I'm out on A.J. McCarron. Yeah.
Yeah. You looked at the preseason odds for Heisman for Marquise Lee, and you said, wow, that's an interesting bet, but he's not going to win it over Matt Barkley.
Right.
He would win it over Matt Barkley right now.
Yes,
He
because
is so dynamic with the ball.
His
He's
ability
winning games.
after the catch,
Yeah.
his ability in the run game,
Yeah.
and to just do it for 4 quarters is incredible.
Yeah, those are my 4 right now.
Those
And
feel
Geno
like
Smith off the list now.
Yeah, no, he took a nosedive. I'm also going to throw in Everett Golson.
Look at you, just to be a jerk. Yeah, no, that's great.
What's up, South Bend?
That's great. Look at
Final
you.
question: what is your opinion of ciabatta bread?
Ciabatta bread.
I'm anti.
Yeah, no, I don't like
I'm
it.
anti-Te'o on ciabatta bread. You see what this has gone on
We need
far
the
too
primal
long.
scream.
Ty,
Close
tell
this
them
thing
where
out.
to
All right.
where to find us and
solidverbal.com is the web address. Thanks for tuning in with us on a Sunday morning, or if you're in the car listening after the fact. Hope you enjoyed college football's week 10. I think the tentative plan for us, Dan, we're going to try and we've done all these review and preview shows.
Yeah.
We're going to try and do like a State of the Union type
that would be
show
fantastic.
at some point earlier in this
Should we
week.
have somebody smart and informed on?
Smarter
to
than
help
us.
us?
I know this is a
smarter
foreign
than
thing.
we are. You used bad grammar to use in the sentence
Did that on
to call
purpose.
us
See
dumb.
what I did there?
You're
We're
so
funny.
smart.
So funny.
Yeah.
We're going to try and do that for all you all to reset, give you a pretty good idea for where the college football season's at this juncture as we head into week 11. We'll do our best on the website, on the Twitters to try and keep you informed.
Close
of that.
to our best.
206-338-1784 is the phone number. Also solidverbal@gmail.com. Do check us out on all the social medias. In the meantime, this guy over here is Dan Rubenstein. I, of course, am Ty Hildenbrand. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you all in a few days. Stay solid.
Peace.